Hey everybody, today we are going to be talking about bundling. Bundling is the simple sales or purchase tactic of finding a card you like from a seller, be it on eBay or whatnot, or in person at a card show, and then finding other cards of theirs that you like, maybe some that you weren't really looking for but are interesting or that you think are cool, and putting them together all in one big sale. It's a fun tactic to use because it's win-win. You get a good deal because you've purchased multiple cards, so the dealer is more willing to cut you a deal. And the dealer's happy because they sold a bunch of cards in one sale. It's less hassle for them. So I'm going to talk about a bundle I just did, how I did it, how it worked, and then I'm going to give you some examples and tactics of how you can put a bundle together and how it'll work best for you. So I was looking for this card, Slavan Zambata, Dinamo Zagreb. This is from the 1968-1969 Panini Calciatori set, which is an amazing vintage set. I was looking for this card. I found it on eBay, and then I decided rather than buy it, bid on it, do whatever, I wanted to see what other cards the buyer had. So when I went and clicked on the buyer's profile, eBay told me that that buyer had 80,000 listings, give or take. And then when I clicked on see those other listings, the next thing that popped up was a search bar showing about 40,000 listings. So right away I knew something was wrong because when I first clicked on his profile, it said 80,000. And then when I clicked on the actual show me those items, the number cut down to 40,000. So what had happened was that seller had 80,000 items listed on eBay Italy, but only checked international sale on 40,000 of those items. So what I did was right away I went to eBay Italy, and once I got to eBay Italy, I used my normal eBay login credentials to get onto eBay Italy. I used Google Translate because I don't speak Italian.
Grazie. Corlomi? Lo pronuncio correttamente? Sì, corretto.
Or even third best Italian, and I went on there and I found this card. While I was looking for this card in the Panini set, there are 3 cards from this Dinamo Zagreb team, and I'm going to show those to you. This is the next card, the Josip Blaskovic, and then the really cool card which shows the whole starting team, and it shows a cup there in the middle. That cup that they won is the 1967 Intercities Fairs Cup, and that was a tournament that was the precursor to the Europa League. So Dinamo Zagreb got into that tournament. They ended up beating Leeds United, and they won the whole tournament. So for Dinamo Zagreb, that was a big deal because no team from Croatia or even Greater Yugoslavia at the time had won an international club tournament. So that's why I wanted these 3 cards. While I was looking at those 3 cards, I went and searched to see what other cards this guy had. And he had a Luka Modric first year Madrid album card or sticker. He had another Luka Modric first year Madrid. He had a Dinamo Zagreb team logo. I think this is from 71 from another album. He had 3 cards that had Milan Rapajic on it. Milan Rapajic is one of my favorite players. Almost impossible to find his cards for sale in the United States. So I got 1, 2, 3 Rapajic cards. I also picked up a really nice AC Milan Zvonimir Boban card. He had this is not the original Panini Calciatori Maradona, which is big money. This is a reprint from the Maradona Legacy set that came out a couple years back. So this is one of his most popular cards. It's a reprint. Another Maradona card, a Maradona World Cup sticker. Again, this one's kind of in rough shape, so I got a good deal on it. From the 2018 World Cup, a Maradona sticker, which shows him winning the World Cup. And then this card, which to me is the standout in the entire set. This is the Ivan Rakitic Schalke rookie card. It's in amazing shape. The only thing that concerns me, let me see if I can get my finger to line up here. Right there, if you look closely, there's a little spot on the edge. I don't know if that'll clean up or not. If that could clean up or if that wasn't there, this could grade very highly. So I contacted the seller and I said, these are all the cards I'm interested in. Some of these cards were 2 or 3 euros, some of them were 5 or 6 euros, but all of them had 8 euro shipping on them. So meaning that if I bought them through eBay and the shipping didn't combine, I'd be paying more in shipping than I would for the cards. So I took a picture of every one of these cards, a screen cap, sent it to the seller and said, these are the cards I'm interested in. What the seller ended up doing to make things easier is he took all these cards, he put them in one listing on eBay with my username on it, sent me the link, said I think it was like 55 euro plus shipping, but the shipping for the whole group was just as much as shipping would have been for one card. And he said, how about this? And I said, that's a great deal. I'll take it. I bought it. That was done. So that's strategy number one. Strategy number one is you go to a seller, you say, I'm interested in all these cards. What kind of deal will you make me? And then the seller will say, okay, here's all these cards. I'll give them to you for this price. If it's on eBay, just combining shipping might make it worth for you. Sometimes sellers will say, okay, the total is 60 and I'll give them all to you for 50 or 55 and one shipping price. That might make it worth to you. Now, if you're at a show and you're going through sellers' items, and let's say, just as an example, I was at a show and I picked up all these cards and I went to the seller and said, I want all of these cards, what will you sell them to me for? Okay. Now, if you pulled some out of a $3 bin and some out of a $2 bin and some were sitting on his table, before you start, you should have in your mind added up what was his listed price for all of these cards. That should be your first thing you need to know. So let's say I wanted all these cards and I added up the price the seller had on all of them and it was $70. And I said to the seller, what would you sell me all these cards for? Now, if the seller comes back and says, if you want them all, I'll give them all to you for 50 or 55. And if that's a good deal to you and you appreciate that discount, you say, thank you very much, and you give them the money. Now, if the total was 70 and the seller says our second option, and the seller says, well, I want 70 for them. Well, you can always come back and say, hey, what about 60? What about 55? Would you take that? In that case, the seller might say, yeah, I'll make you a deal and give you that. Now, your third option that you can do, your third of fourth options, is you can say, hey, I would like to pay 60 or 55, and the seller might say, no, I want to stick to 70. I will not come down. In that case, you could say, okay, well, I'm interested in these cards, but I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in this. I do want to keep this. Maybe I'll keep this. Maybe I'll keep these. I'll dump that. Okay, now what will you do for these cards? Now, also keep in mind, you're going to have to know what the seller's total was on these cards before a discount. Now, the seller might say, okay, you took those cards out. They weren't that great. I'll sell you all of these for 50. If that's worth it to you, because these are the ones you really wanted and you kind of cut the extras out, you could say, okay, I'll take 50, or you could say, I'll offer you 45, do whatever you need to. Now, the seller might say, nope, the total price on these was 55 or 60 even, and all you did was cut out the cheap cards, and I'm going to stick by my price. Your last option, your last ditch is, okay, I want to keep these 4. What will you do for these 4? And if the seller cuts you a deal that's worth it for you to pick the 4 cards you want the most, because if I had to only pick 4 cards out of this pile, it would be these, right? If the seller cuts you a deal that makes sense and works for you, then do that. If the seller doesn't, if the seller won't budge, even after you've cut the midweight cards out, even after you've cut the dead weight cards out, if the seller is not willing to deal, then bundling rule number 1 is walk away. Only do this if it pays for you. So these are some tactics. Now, 9 times out of 10, when you're dealing with a seller and you come with a pile of cards, they're going to cut you a deal, guys, especially if you're nice and respectful and maybe you have a little smile on your face. You kind of cheer up their day a little bit. These are all things that are going to help you make that purchase. All right. And go into it with a positive attitude and say, hey, look, what will you do for all these cards? 9 times out of 10, they will cut you a deal. If they don't, cut the dead weight, see what they do then. If they really don't want to deal, keep the cards you absolutely want and try to make a deal on that. And if they're not willing to deal on that, walk away. This works in person. This works on eBay, and it even works in Whatnot. And what's nice about Whatnot is that it's live. I've been in some Whatnot feeds where a guy's been trying to sell cards and none of his cards will sell. And in all of those cards, there might be half the cards or 3 or 4 cards I really like. I'll say to the seller, put those last 3 lots together in one lot and I'll bid. And sometimes the sellers will say, okay, they started at $1. I've gotten 4, 5, 6 numbered refractors for $1 before or $2 before because no one else is bidding. Now, is the seller going to do that multiple times? No, but the seller also can't really be mad at you because you did bid. If you're not getting the deal, do not buy. So one thing I want to talk about before we end this is these 3 cards. I'm kind of on the fence if I want to get these graded or not. The problem is at the time in 1967, this set was mostly released in Italy. So a lot of these Croatian cards, and there's only 3 for Dinamo Zagreb. Number one, they weren't the most popular cards at the time, so they weren't taken care of. If you look at the backs, you'll see that all of them have their issues in one way or another. 2, the print quality was so bad. Like for instance, on the Blaskovic, you see the red star lines up. On the Zambada, the red star doesn't line up. So these are 3 cards that I really want to keep for my PC. I'd like to display them. This is a Dinamo Zagreb team that, as a club, won an international tournament, beating Leeds United. So I'm going to have to really decide, do I want to get these graded? If I want to get them graded, do I maybe want to go through SGC or another company that will be cheaper than paying the money for PSA? But I definitely am going to get this Rakitic graded. If I can get that spot off or not, I'm going to get this graded. Because otherwise, besides that little spot, this card's in great shape. So the moral of the story here is always have a positive attitude, be happy, have a smile on your face, but talk to people and be willing to negotiate and be willing to make deals. And 9 times out of 10, those dealers will work for you. And at the end of the day, you're maximizing the amount of money you spend to make your collection better. All right? So listen, be happy. Enjoy doing this, have fun, be positive. At the end of the day, this should be fun. If it's not fun, I'm going to tell you right now, pick a different hobby. If you're having fun doing this, there's ways to have more fun doing this. And I think the number one way to have more fun getting cards for your collection is bundling. So try to bundle and see that things will work out for you. I hope you guys enjoy your week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.